post independence. My topic is Midnight's Children narrative techniques. My topic is based on the techniques of the narrations. First of all, getting deep into the narrative techniques, here one question arises that what is the narrative technique? If we talk about two different things in a single manner, narrative means to convey, to express something which is based on a particular manner, and technique is something about the tricks which has been used in any literary device. So here we have as all along in literary devices we have seven types of literary techniques, and in the present genre we are having the apocalyptic narrative. Salman Rashid has been telling like so many times he is using the flashback techniques in Midnight's Children, and it is based on the first person omniscient. So the question arises that what is apocalyptic narrative, because it is rare. Mostly critics has been arguing about Salman over these things, that why he has used the apocalyptic narrative, which is not the traditional method of literary genre in other devices also. So apocalyptic narrative is one of the aspects in the narrative techniques as found in Salman Rashid's Midnight's Children. Apocalyptic narrative and ideas of nationalism. Here the whole story is depending over the nationalism. It is between the nationalism, the post nationalism, and the pre nationalism. If we try to personify the situation here, we can understand the personified thing that the story is based upon the particular day. If we talk about the plot, it is on the 15th August, which is playing a major role in the whole story. So the day of the 15th August, it is personified as the day of nationalism, because the protagonist or the narrator of the play is Salim Sinai. So Salim Sinai is having both type of contradictory things. He is having the pre connotations also and the post connotation also. So Salman has tried to find out the magical realism in his play. Here, if I want to get deep into the apocalyptic narrative, here there is an example of the spelling word which is normally seen in our day to day life. People just say randomly, they don't know the real thing of this. It is known as abracadabra. Now majorly if we just talk about this, abracadabra means if we want to just make something which is connected to fantasy or realism or magic, we say just abracadabra. Or in our local language we just spell something slok type, him shrim chamundai which say sometime. So these all things are, I guess, connected to realism or some magic, which is this here abracadabra is something which is connected to apocalyptic narrative, because in simple manner it doesn't have that much of prophecy, which is also included in Midnight's Children. If we talk about the point of view of Midnight's Children, it is moving in course of time, place, and action. Three important things which is very important in any literary genre. It is the time where the story is moving on, the place where it has been depicted upon, and the actions what the characters has been included and showing there and after. The second thing is it is based on the first person narrative. So the whole story is narrated by Salim Sinai, and it is critically developed by the three phase of time, space, and moving actions. Another thing is there is the coherence with moments in the past and future, because as earlier I had said, it is based on the prediction of only one day, 15th August, which is the day of our independence. So if we just want to signify that thing, we can say that 15th August, 14th August may be the past, and 16th August must be the future. So the day is between 15th August, and the whole story revolves around this thing. We can also have one example of this, that in the story we get to know that all the childrens born between 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. Are having the special supernatural powers, but here in reality we can't have this much of realism. So the magical realism and the magic has been working upon this thing. If we talk about the cinematic techniques in Midnight's Children is following from the beginning of the novel, because the beginning of the novel starts with the flashback technique. The flashback technique also is having some connection with foreshadowing techniques. The flashback techniques is having something which is done in the past and it is been conveyed in future, means it is conveyed in the present. And the foreshadowing technique is something which is which must be or which would be conveyed in the future sense. The another thing is there is the reflection of post colonial culture in India. The whole story is based on nationalism. India is has been the center of this play, so it is obvious that the post colonial culture of India must be included in this particular novel. Another thing is the language of Salim's narrative. The way the narration has been done, because it is very very important to, and it is hard to convey that what is in our mind. If we take an example of our current situation, that we students are having different experiences on our everyday basis, but our professors, our teacher is having that experience from years and years ago. If we talk about this particular novel, that this novel is having some connotations about the play, and it is having that narrative technique which is based on melodramatic also. Means the people who are having such type of techniques in their mind, it is very hard to convey to the peoples who are not dealing with it. Another thing is that there is the switching of Salim and Shiva by Mary Perrier. So this also concludes some different type of things which is not included in the cinematic technique. The another thing is realism and magic. In one spell, we can say it is the magic realism. Now, what do you mean by magic realism? There is the blend of reality and fantasy so that the distinction between the two is erased. One thing is based upon the magic, and one thing is based upon the reality. What we are facing today is reality, and what we must face in our dream, that must be the fantasy of it. This also is concluded in the story. Another thing is transformation of the common and everyday into the awesome and unreal. Now, what do you mean by awesome and unreal? Unreal is something which is not in our mind or which is not conveyed in the story also. The transformation of the common is from the past and the future, which Salim has tried to become more and more influensive in the course of time in the story. There is the elements of dream, fairy tales, and mythology combined with every day of life. If we talk about the story is having very simple realism, because it does not have that much of conveying power to the viewers also. Because whatever Salim is having in his mind, he wanted to convey to the readers and the viewers of this story. But it is very difficult to convey that much of thing to everyone, because it contains the fairy tales, it contains the mythology which is connected to it, and the dreams also. Another thing is the frame or surface of the work, which may be conventionally realistic or have a strong narrative drive. If the narrator of the story is not having that much of a strong narrative drive, how could the people or the reader who are watching or reading the story can get the real idea of it? Another thing is the language, how the language is in the narrative form. Means the language is must be the nationalism or the post colonial language, which is the main concern of their era. We can say it in the past time also. There is the structure of language which is based on the narrative technique. The narrative technique goes into the flashback in each and every scene. Another thing is Indian contextual words, because this story is based on nationalism, so it is obvious that the Indian contextual words must be the zeal of this story. Another thing is there is the use of allusions. Now the question arises that how the use of allusions may be the true ones in this. Then the use of allusions we can see in interesting words like God knows what, and God and what its name. Means God knows everything, and he can have that much of instinct in the allusion, which is showed by Rashid in this particular manner. Another thing is English language with inappropriation. Here there is some type of contextual manner which is focused upon two things, the Indian thing and the nationalism, which is from the European type of British English language. If we talk about the time lapse, which is found in the Midnight's Children, the Midnight's Children is having the past consequences of switching the manner, means switching from present to past and from past to present. The foreshadowing technique and the flashback techniques are the two techniques used by Salman Rashid in Midnight's Children. So the story went from present, then present to past, and past to present. Here is some mixture of including the flashback techniques, the mixture of tense and other things also. Here other things denotes to the frame, like there is the elements of funniness, the fussiness, the darkness. It is also belonging to ironically magical, and it is also an allegorical type of narrative technique also. Another thing is disturbing the flow of narrator and Salim the character. Another thing is, if we want to understand this in a particular manner, we need to convey with it example. This example is from the chapter 1, that 32-year-old before as present. So here Salim is narrating the thing, and he is saying that something is been prevailing in the present, and whatever he is asking about, or whatever he is tolling about, is has been revealed 30 years ago or 30 years before. So the tense here, difference between before and ago, is noted with grant. So another thing is, grandfather Azam Aziz's existence lies along with his contemporaries from past to present. This is from the chapter 2. We can get an idea from this chapter 2 that the existence of Adam, which is the grandfather of Salim, and his existence is now in his contemporary. So the story is following the thing from past to present and present to past. So when Salim is foreshadowing the story, it has been prevailing in the present, but when he talks about his grandfather, it went to the past. So here the consequences of all these things, the past and the present, work upon each other. The another thing is, narrator makes us move by talking us in the course of time, place, and action. As we discussed earlier, that time, place, and action as the three important mechanization and the pole in which Salman has tried to definitely string upon the things which have been prevailing in Midnight's Children. These are my references, the citation which I had took some